What do you do when the storm you're facing doesn't respond to your effort? Why is it that fear rises so quickly, even when you believe you're not alone? And what if the peace you're searching for isn't found in controlling the storm, but in trusting through it? There are moments in life when everything seems stable. The path feels clear, the direction makes sense, and there is a sense of quiet confidence in where things are going. You move forward without hesitation, believing that what lies ahead will follow the same pattern. But then, without warning, something shifts. What was calm becomes uncertain. What felt secure begins to shake. And suddenly you find yourself in a situation you didn't expect, facing something you didn't prepare for. Storms have a way of doing that. They don't always give notice. They don't always follow a predictable pattern. And when they arrive, they test more than just your circumstances. They test your response. Imagine being in a place where movement is already underway. You're not standing still. You've already committed to the journey. There's no easy way to turn back, no simple way to avoid what's coming. And then the storm hits. Not lightly, not gradually, but with force. Wind rises, waves crash, the environment becomes unstable. What once felt manageable now feels overwhelming. In these moments, fear does not ask for permission. It appears instantly. It fills the mind with questions. What if this gets worse? What if I can't handle this? What if there's no way out? And the more attention fear receives, the stronger it becomes. This is where many begin to lose their sense of direction. Not because the situation is new, but because the intensity changes everything. It is one thing to face small challenges. It is another to face something that feels beyond your control. And in that moment, the natural response is to focus on the storm. The noise, the movement, the uncertainty, everything demands attention. But here's what often goes unnoticed. In the middle of all that chaos, there is still a presence that has not changed. While everything else is shifting, something remains steady. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Because while fear rises, while urgency increases, while the situation feels like it is reaching a breaking point, there is calm. Not outside, but within. This contrast is powerful, because it reveals that peace is not always dependent on circumstances. It shows that stability can exist even when everything around you feels unstable. But this kind of peace is not automatic. It is not something that appears just because you want it. It is something that is connected to where your focus is placed. In the middle of the storm, attention is often pulled toward what is happening externally. The louder the storm, the harder it is to look away from it. But the moment focus shifts, something changes. The situation may not immediately improve, but your response begins to. Instead of reacting purely out of fear, there is an opportunity to respond with awareness, to recognize that not everything is out of control, that even in chaos, there is something steady, and that steadiness matters. There is also something important about timing. The storm does not wait for readiness. It does not ask if you feel prepared. It arrives when it arrives, and often it comes at moments when you feel least equipped to handle it. This is what makes storms so challenging. They expose weaknesses, they reveal doubts, they bring to the surface things that may have been hidden before, but they also create an opportunity to grow, to shift perspective, to develop a deeper level of trust, because trust is easy when everything is calm. It is easy to believe when there are no problems. But when the storm comes, trust is tested, not in theory, but in reality. And in that test, something is revealed, what you rely on, what you believe, what you hold on to when everything else feels uncertain. This is where many struggle, because the instinct is to take control, to fix, to manage, to solve. But not every storm can be controlled. Some require a different approach, not more effort, but more trust, not more movement, but more stillness. This is difficult, because stillness feels counterproductive in chaos. It feels like doing nothing. But sometimes stillness is not weakness. It is alignment. It is choosing to pause instead of panic, to focus instead of scatter, to trust instead of fear. And in that stillness, something shifts. Not always the storm immediately, but the way you experience it. Fear begins to lose its grip. Clarity starts to return. And even though the storm is still present, it no longer controls everything. There is also a moment in the story where something changes externally. where the storm that once seemed unstoppable suddenly becomes quiet, where the force that created fear loses its power, and everything becomes still again. This moment is striking, because it shows that what feels overwhelming can be stopped, that what seems uncontrollable can be calmed. But even more important than the storm stopping is what comes after. The realization, the awareness, the question that follows. Because after experiencing something like that, it changes how you see things. It challenges previous assumptions. It forces you to reconsider what is possible. And it raises a deeper question. Why was there fear in the first place? This is not a question meant to criticize, but to reveal, to highlight the gap between what is known and what is lived. Because often, people know what to believe, but struggle to apply it in difficult moments. They understand the concept of trust, but when pressure comes, fear takes over. This is normal, but it is also something that can change, through experience, through reflection, through learning to respond differently over time. Storms will come again, not the same ones, not in the same way, but they will come. And each time there is a choice, to react the same way, or to grow, to carry forward what was learned, to respond with more awareness, more steadiness, more trust. This is how growth happens, not by avoiding storms, but by learning through them, by recognizing that they are not just obstacles, but opportunities, opportunities to strengthen what is within, to build resilience, to develop a deeper sense of peace that is not easily shaken. There is also something important about perspective. When you are in the middle of a storm, it feels like everything. It fills your vision. It dominates your thoughts. But storms are not permanent. They pass, they change, they move on, and what remains is what was built during them. The strength, the understanding, the growth. This is why how you respond matters. Because the storm will leave, but the impact of your response will stay. So the question becomes personal. What storm are you facing right now? What situation feels overwhelming? Where is fear trying to take control? And in that space, what are you focusing on? Are you consumed by the storm? Or are you aware of what remains steady within it? Are you trying to control everything? Or are you learning to trust? These questions are not easy, but they are important because they shape your response, and your response shapes your experience. You may not be able to stop every storm immediately, but you can choose how you move through it, with panic or with purpose, with fear or with trust, with chaos or with calm. And over time, that choice becomes a pattern, a way of living, a way of facing challenges that is not easily shaken. Because peace is not the absence of storms, it is the presence of something greater within them. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Your support helps spread this message of peace and trust to more people. And be sure to watch the full video to go deeper into how to remain steady, even when life feels like a storm.